opening of our festival week, which began on July 3rd and 11th. And here you see Sharon McGlynn with myself and our co-chairman, Hosking. Festival week that ran between July 3rd and 11th started at the Legion Home over on South Main Street in Geneva, and it was co-chaired by Martha Wilson and Red Simeone. What you're seeing now, for those of you who were there, was the beginning of the festivities at the Legion, with the people beginning to arrive and playing games of chance and participating in the rides. Martha, you remember that day? It was quite rainy there for a little while, babe.
Well, if I recall correctly, the rain had stopped by then, and it was quite an appropriate evening to begin this week. There were several thousand people there, and many people taking part in the festivities.
Babe, you were there doing some of the filming that day. Which was your impression of the crowds and the people who were there?
My impression is of Commander Fuchs, who happens to be in the picture right now, just about pulling the hair out of his head because of the rain conditions, whether to cancel the festivities or see what happened by the weather.
Right, there's Mayor Helen Maney, the mayor of the city of Geneva, who participated with us that day, and by the way, who was very helpful to us, along with city manager Over in getting the bicentennial underway. She came up to greet the crowd and to actually start the festivities officially that day. You mentioned a few minutes ago about Larry Fuchs, the commander who was in charge of it that day. We'll also see Bill Hope, the incoming commander, who helped that particular day. I guess the incoming commander learns that year because he's in charge of the Legion Festival the following year, right, babe?
That's what...
Here we are on actually the July 4th itself, the celebration of the 200 years of American independence, and we're at North Street School, where the Musicians Union put on a real super concert. Martha, what are some of your impressions of that beautiful Monday afternoon, July 4th, of the concert?
Well, it was a very lovely early evening concert. There were quite a few neighborhood people participating, enjoying themselves out in the early evening in lawn chairs, and it was a quite good concert. And for that, we thank George Tellerico and the Musicians Union, who were quite helpful through the whole week.
Babe, you were there that afternoon, too, taking some of the movies and so on. What were your impressions?
I was very impressed by the music that they played.
Now here we are on July 6th, what the committee calls Heritage Days. We're down here at Genesee Park, and you can see some of the people setting up the food booths and so on. And here's part of our first entertainment. Our gospel singers, they're all waving to us over here. And there's Lucille Maillard is the leader of the group. They did a super job for us that night, and we were really entertained by some great gospel music. In fact, thanks to them, they were with us several days later at Pulteney Park. One of the first ones to entertain us that evening. The next thing you'll see, and you'll hear some of the music in the background, is the Town of Geneva Fife and Drum Corps. The Fife and Drum Corps was newly formed that year specifically for the celebration of the bicentennial, and these young people, these young men and women, did the town of Geneva proud. They did a real super job, and well, you can hear the music in the background. You get an idea how well they sounded. One of the things that struck me about that is that of many, many years ago, 40, 50 years ago, when the parks were used for purposes of that sort. Now, Martha, how about describing what's happening here?
This was a very rainy morning on Wednesday, July 7th, and it was the bicentennial bike race, which I understand has now become an annual event, and was sponsored by the City Recreation Department. And here the PBA is sponsoring a bike rodeo on the same afternoon. And once again, it wasn't a very nice day weather-wise, but I think most of the people that participated had a good time, and this once again has become an annual event.
What can we say about this parade? It was approximately 3 hours long. You're only going to see a small portion of it, but how can I thank over and over again our fire chief, Carlton Nagley, and his entire fire department for the grand job they did in getting this together. There's our honorary parade marshal, Captain John O'Malley, who had been the Grand Marshal for many, many years back in the 20s and 30s of our parade. There he is. And he was our honorary Grand Marshal today. And this is the first of the units, the Geneva High Marching Band, setting the stage for the entire parade.
Here beginning the parade is Geneva's own fire department, which looked very, very impressive that afternoon.
How about them with their red carnations, babe? Didn't they look like something special?
It really added some color to their uniforms, and like they always are out in strength and number, and always win trophies for one prize or another.
I just want to start with the most important thing we have to say tonight, which is happy birthday, Geneva.
I hope there's people out here who've visited the Geneva Historical Society over the last 30 or 40 years as children on school groups and seen this down at the base of the stairs, because for once and for all, we're going to prove that this is not a bomb and it's not a torpedo. And it looks like the first thing we have is, does anybody out here know what this stuff is? Excelsior. Bubble wrap was not sold until 1960. So this is 1950s bubble wrap we're looking at. If you can just turn that around for the camera and the crowd. This is official material that was sealed in an American can, number 10 can. And you may have seen the photo. Actually, I think the photo is in your program of Averill Harriman and Mayor Bing Rogers putting some documents in this can. Got a lot more Excelsior. And this is Charters of Brothers of the Brush. Some of you folks out there may have actually, or I should say the men out there may remember growing beards for that organization. And this is Charters of the Geneva Sesquibelles, the women who were not required to wear beards. Yes, and one thing that we're not doing this time around, they mounted a giant pageant, which I believe ran for 6 days at the old Boswell Field, the Geneva Story. Let's see. Pictures and publicity material. Might need to move the lid there. Souvenirs, which could be just about anything. Another poster with Geneva's city seal on it. Excelsior wasn't a lot of fun to pop like bubble wrap is. However, you really could start a nice fire with it. You know, if you're about 5 years old and in a mood to create some trouble. Let's see. Historical material. We're now getting down to the grabber, so I'm not sure if there's anything left down there or not. Okay,